Hello, everyone, and welcome back to her channel. This girl's name is Anthea, and if you are new here, welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Today we are doing a Q&A session with this girl's master. Say hello, master, please.
Hello.
Yay! So, this girl has been promising you this video since December of last year, and we are finally able to get it done. Yay! So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Master, this question is for you. Uh, did you have any qualms about taking on a computer when you yourself are not Korean?
No, I did not. I have been in power exchange relationships continuously for the past 31 years, the majority of which are master slave. And so taking on someone who identified as lower than slave, as property, was not unfamiliar to me. The fact that she was Korean meant a bit more discussion and research on my part. And there was a period of consideration that was extensive in this girl's head. To me, it was more than reasonable, in which we tried to decide whether or not we would be a good fit for each other before I accepted the transfer of ownership from her previous owner.
Okay. How does someone get into the lifestyle as a master?
I'm not sure which lifestyle y'all are talking about, if it's Korean, which I wouldn't have any experience in getting into it as a master because I didn't start out being a Korean master. But when it comes to the leather lifestyle, when it comes to the kink lifestyle, however you want to refer to it as, I got into it very slowly. I went through years of relationships and evolving relationships with people, starting from the shallow end of the pool, of the power exchange pool, and then progressing deeper and deeper and deeper as it felt right to do so. To me, it's never been something that feeds me unless everything feeds the people in that given dynamic. So the slave that I have had the longest, EC, I've had since 1998. Well, we've been involved since 1998. And he was the one that I got into mastery with. And that was a protracted process where we started out as play partners. And then over the years, kept delving further and further and further into the deeper end of power exchange until we hit that epiphany that that's what we were. For the longest time, we actively resisted using words like master and slave because of the one true wayers in the kink community, where it was, if you're a slave, this is what you do, this is what you feel, this is what feeds you. If you're a master, etc., 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 etc. I've been involved in MAST, which is Masters and Slaves Together, for decades. I've helped found groups. I'm married to a founder of another group. So discussions were definitely at a premium. And I was not crazy about the term mistress. Master, to me, fit me a lot better. Master, there's no confusion whatsoever about what you mean when you say this is my master. When you say this is my mistress, people do not automatically comprehend, unless they're in a given lifestyle, that this is someone that is over you in a power dynamic, or if she's a side piece. And I am not that trivially involved with anyone.
How do we preserve our dynamic when we're out in public?
Um, well, she's got jewelry at all times, on all 5 extremities, and she doesn't have any keys at all. We also have what is referred to as blanket consent. If she was a slave, it would be called blanket consent. Because I can do whatever the fuck I want to her at any point in time, no matter where we are. If I tell her to do something, she has to do it. We live in the South. So everyone, except for her, that I own, when we're in public, calls me ma'am. When we're in private, calls me ma'am. My own husband does not refer to me by name. He is either responding yes ma'am or no ma'am, or when he has to talk to anyone else, including his own children, it is Miss Jennifer. Because I deserve that respect at all times. And that's what feeds us. I'm not with anyone where we don't have that. I'm not going to say mirrored, because it's not a mirror of it. It's like that puzzle piece of hunger. Our pieces fit together, because in no way, shape, or form am I into receiving bondage, but I am into giving it. So, yeah, that works.
Okay.
Otherwise, when it comes to our dynamic in public, if she's in front of any children, or anyone that she knows is extremely sensitive to power dynamics, the extreme vanillas, think evangelists, that type of thing. She's referred to me. She is supposed to refer to me as ma'am. At all the times, she calls me master in public. Doesn't matter if it's in front of my mother. She still does it. Because that's who we are. She bears tags that I dictated what would be on them. If I tell her what to wear, she wears those things. She asks me where to sleep. I have provided a room for her belongings in my house that we call her room for ease of convenience during speaking. But we all know that she's my property, and therefore her property is my property. So all of you nitpickers out there of, it's her room. No, it's the room that I have told her to put her stuff in. So it's not underfoot. Because she is absent-minded and leaves shit places. I don't want to trip. And because we're both crafty, and I don't want to mix my stuff with her stuff.
Could you go into a little more detail about why you prefer the term master instead of mistress?
Clarity. Number one, clarity. Mistress, I've been actively polyamorous since I was 15, so 33 years. And in every single one of my relationships, it's been upfront, honest communication, and mistress carries negative connotations to a large portion of the population who lives their lives in dishonesty. And I am very blunt and very forthright, and never want to give the impression that I am doing shady shit in my life, being dishonorable. If I had to choose between being identified as a kinkster or being identified as leather, I would identify as leather because I believe very strongly in honor and trust. And that's why I don't like mistress. Master is very simple and to the point. Everyone knows um, what that means. I also prefer owner because, again, there's no fucking confusion there.
Um, how can you be in an endless relationship without being romantically in love? Because we don't have that.
We're also not sexually involved.
Nope.
Because I can own a car and not fuck them or be in love with them. She's property.
It's true.
I can sell her.
It's true.
I can bet her in a card game.
It's true.
Why? I've been in love with someone that I was in a power exchange with. I'm married. Not to my longest relationship. That's a longer story there. But I'm married to someone that I own, who is my slave. He wears a cold welded collar that can't come off unless you cut it. And I wouldn't have married him unless I was in love with him. But I do not let my emotions get in the way of doing what is best for the people and the property that I own because I believe that is my responsibility as a master and owner is to care for my belongings properly. And if I let emotion get in the way of doing what was best, I would not be a responsible owner or master. Therefore, it doesn't matter how crappy of a day someone's having if they did an offense that had a set punishment for it that I gave my word on. If I say something, it's law. Then I need to follow through with it. It doesn't matter in my decision-making process as to, but they're a really good friend. I've known them for decades, or their mom just died. Because you know what, people that identify on the lower end of the power exchange spectrum, it's really tempting for people above them to look at those things in their lives and go, well, maybe I should give them a little bit of slack. But again, like I said, I do the masked groups, and I've talked endlessly with people on both sides about this. And no matter how much you want to emotionally go ahead and give a little bit of slack because of life events, like her father was in hospice for months, and it was a very long and protracted ordeal.
Not a good year.
People on the lower end of the spectrum, and quite frankly, all of our dynamics within that need structure. And as much as they may scream and cry and beg for things to not happen and make excuses, a large part of them feeds on the fact that they have that structure and they have that reassurance when everything else in their life is going to hell in a handbasket that this is a constant and this is not going to change.
And that structure really, really helped this girl out when her dad was dying because it just felt like the whole world was falling apart.
And I was there. I picked up and moved for several months to be there during this. And at no point in time did me doing so mean that she wasn't my property. At no point in time did me doing so mean that I prioritized her emotions over my emotional sanity. It meant that I had met her parents. And by the way, we were out to her parents. because again, believe in living life honestly and openly. And I respected her parents, and I wanted to be there for her, her mom, her dad, and that meant the best way that I could be there for them and to thank them for producing such a wonderful piece of property uh, was to pick up and go and do what I could to assist them, which included instructing the girl what to do. Um, and when you own someone that has gone through mental health care issues, part of being a responsible owner is doing what you can to proactively alleviate those issues. And regardless of her loyalty to me, I knew that emotionally she was going to be on a roller coaster from hell about what her father was going through, what her mother was going through, and her desire to help them warring against her desire to serve me. Therefore, I eliminated all of that by making sure we were all in one geographical location so that she could serve me, not only by serving me directly, but also by following my dictates and serving me through her service to her parents.
As a potential Kajira, is it wrong to have questions for a potential master?
No, in fact, one of our rules is that if she has any questions about anything, or if she thinks that she might be unsure about something, especially if it's something I'm telling her to do, she is to bring them to me. Number one, I don't want her fucking up anything. I want her doing what I want her to do correctly. So, because everyone speaks the same English language, but there's more than one definition and more than one interpretation for each word. And then you bring in, listening to tones and all that other crap. If there's any possibility of misunderstanding, I want her to ask me. Because I want her to do shit right. I don't want to have to spend my time chasing after her, picking up, doing things the way I wanted them done instead of how she did them, because frankly, that's not my job. That's hers. And if I don't give her the tools that she needs to do what I want correctly, I'm sabotaging her. And I'm sabotaging us. And I'm making my life miserable. And I don't want to do that.
Nobody wants to do that.
When it comes to a perspective, as in not yet a Kajira, talking to a perspective, as in not yet a master, yeah, ask all the fucking questions. Ask if they've done their research. Ask for references. Ask. You cannot make an informed decision unless you have the information, by definition.
How does this girl balance having a master and a boyfriend?
She has a boyfriend because I gave permission. I was asked. She does not run over to his place willy-nilly. I get asked for permission before they see each other. Not just, can I go, but also how long. Sex doesn't happen unless I get permission. Orgasms on either part don't happen unless I get permission. She thrives on micromanagement. I hate micromanagement, but she thrives on micromanagement. And I'm not sure it would work very well if it was someone that I did not know, referring to the boyfriend, that I did not know and that I had not known literally for decades. I've known him since I was 12 and he was 11. We have bounced around in each other's lives for a long time, and I trust him. He is active in the kink community and the poly community, and is aware of how important the boundaries that I establish are to both of us. But having said that, if he pushed her or went past a boundary with her consent or otherwise, because he's much larger than her, because she's itty bitty. She's very small.
4'5", 124 pounds.
Yeah, and he's not. Um, it's her responsibility to make sure that she obeys all the rules that I've given her. And so if I said no sex and she heard it and understood it, and he heard it and understood it, and he proved to be untrustworthy and proceeded onward, it wouldn't matter how much there was struggling and yelling and screaming and oh no rape on her part. She still had sex without permission. And that's her responsibility. If we have what's the best way to put this? Everyone that I own has a standard default. If you ask a question that requires a yes in order to proceed, can I have an orgasm? Can I have sex? Can I leave the house? Whatever. Unless you get a definitive yes, the answer is always no. So when you have explicit expectations of you're automatically denied something unless you are explicitly granted permission, then it's a lot easier to go ahead and manage effective discipline around, but you did this and you didn't get permission, or this was done to you. So you were a participant, whether it was willingly or otherwise, and you didn't have permission. If anything like that happened between them, she would get disciplined and he would feel my wrath. But those are two separate things. She would not be automatically forgiven because of what he did, because it is her responsibility to be obedient to me. Are we on the same page?
Yes, Master. Good page to be on. Okay, the last question is, why do you prefer cold branding over hot stripe branding?
I guess the best way to put it is been educated, gone to classes, done all the things on the various ways to brand anyone. Whether it's strike branding or cautery pen branding, like I have a cautery pen that's used in surgery with a fine vasectomy tip, because it's the best way to give delicate brands. Vasectomy tips are in-depth kind of. And then cold branding. So the reason why, one of the reasons why I like cold branding is because in theory, it's supposed to disappear within 6 months to a year unless you have extremely delicate skin. So, in the event that I wanted to make a annual or some type of a regular type of reinforcement of you are as low as cattle. This is something I could do over and 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 over. Second reason, it doesn't matter how well someone takes a beating. You're not going to know how they respond to their skin responds and heals to extreme temperatures until you try. And cold branding is the safest way to do it. Once you see how someone responds to cold branding, it's a lot easier to predict how they're going to respond, not emotionally and vocally, but healing wise, to hot branding. So there's that. So I like the psychological potential, and I like the safety potential because, quite frankly, this is my canvas and I don't want to fuck it up. And now that I've seen how she responds to cold branding, I would be very hesitant to do hot branding on her because of her skin's tendency to scar extremely easily and her inability to sit fucking still. And because hot branding takes a lot longer to heal than cold branding, the potential to fuck up a design is much higher when it comes to wriggly people. If I wanted to do something more than cold branding to her that involved more of a scarification factor, then I would do a cutting and have her not only peel off the scab every day, but also go ahead and use an extremely pungent peppermint salt scrub on it daily. I have some friends that have been in the medical field for decades, and that is what they recommend when it comes to intentional scarification. Let's see, what else? Hot branding techniques. So, typically the cuff is used. However, I might want to go ahead and incorporate my own flourishes around it. Strike branding, if you close any line whatsoever in it. So if you have any zero or lowercase e or any type of swirls, even if it's not intentional and the heat just radiates from line to line, then the skin in the center of that closed off area will die off and scar as a solid. And again, I only have so much tiny canvas to work with. Strike branding can be done bit by bit of design instead of doing all one push. You could do one here, and one here. But again, if the radiant heat connects anything and that entire area of the interior is cut off by by skin that has been subjected to heat, you fucked your design. If I was going to hot brand anyone, I would do it with a cautery pen. It's a lot easier to maintain the same temperature. You can freehand things a lot better, and it doesn't have many of the same healing concerns. With strike branding, it's very difficult to know exactly what temperature the brand is at, especially because metals have their own impurities. So even if you manage to take a temperature reading, say using a laser thermometer or something, on one section of the brand of the strike iron, another section can be a different temperature entirely, which will affect the radiant heat, which will affect the thickness of the lines. So it's a very persnickety thing to do. And honestly, unless you've got someone that is naturally thicker skinned and a larger canvas, you're going to have an issue. Right now, she's got thin arms, so you've got with any portion of her body because she's very curvy. You've got the curvature of the skin to work with, which means that you would have the strike iron come down and hit the area that was most plump first. And then you'd have to rock it a little bit, or you'd have to press harder, which case the centerpiece, which would come into contact with the iron more, would have a wider line and a deeper burn. It's not elegant. It's not artistic. It's going to be a clusterfuck. Even her legs are very, very curvy and shapely. They are not a flat surface. So going ahead and putting a Kef brand that was a strike brand on her, where the lines were accurately spaced far enough on the brand, so the brand would have to be big enough for the radiant heat to not fuck up the area between. It wouldn't happen. I'd much rather have her pinned down like we did with the cold brand, and have her look at me and realize that she can't do anything about the position that she's in, and then have me do it to her. Much less in a place where, it's on public display, depending on how low her collar is. She's property, and there's no way around it.
Thank you very much, Master.
You're welcome. I believe that the question about how do you manage a boyfriend around having a master was also meant for you.
Oh, you explained it well. Would you like her to continue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One of the other things is that Master's rules trump all. So, like she said, there's no going over there without permission. There's no staying longer than she's supposed to. No sex, no orgasms, unless that's been permitted. Another question was...
No play without permission.
No play without permission. Another question was, are there separate rules? Yes, he does have separate rules for this girl. Like, one of them is she can't get in his bed with any clothes on. So she's got to be naked if she gets in his bed. She doesn't have any problems with that.
No, I do have rules about my bed. She's not allowed to get into my bed or on my mattress without being specifically told to.
It's true.
It's mine.
It is, very much. It's her safe space.
It's one of them.
It's one of them.
It's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when she was getting set up to do this, she was like, well, we could, I could sit here. So, no.
Let's see. There's one more question. Nope, that was it. Okay. Thank you very much, Master.
If there's any other questions, please shoot them to her.
Leave comments down below.
I have a work schedule that's all over the place, but it will eventually get answered.
Thank you all. See y'all next time. Bye.